Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the BC Lions Coaches Playbook series presented by Boza Construction and GML Mechanical. I'm Tyler. I'm your moderator this evening. Welcome. This is the fifth and final webinar we've been hosting each of the past Wednesday since I think the first one was October 7th, and we're wrapping up tonight, November 4th. Tonight's all about the running game and linebackers. So we hope everyone on the call is excited to learn a few things from those perspectives. Wanted to let you know again, if it's your first one, we'll be doing 45 minutes of theory with our two guests tonight, and in the last 10 minutes or so will be held for Q&A. You can ask any question you might have with the chat function throughout the presentation, or you can ask at the end, whichever works for you. What I want to say, if this is your first one, we're happy to have you tonight. If you've seen us for everyone, we also want to thank you for being on every call. With that said, I'll introduce you to both our guests, and we'll talk the first one first. So first off, we have Danny O'Brien, offensive assistant. He was on our first one when we were talking about quarterbacks. And with us tonight, we also have our linebackers coach. He played a few years in Ottawa at linebacker, and he came back and coached in the CFL as linebackers coach with Edmonton the past 2 years, and that's Travis Brown. Right now I'm going to flip it over to Danny O'Brien, and he's going to talk all about running back. Danny, how are you doing tonight?
All right, how's it going? Appreciate everyone showing up. I'm going to talk a little bit of running backs. Really excited to get into this here a little bit with you guys. I wanted to start kind of just with a general overview in terms of what we look for in a running back, and then we'll get into each of those elements and talk about a drill here at the end before I kick it over to Trav. Let's see here. Perfect. Yeah, so here we go. So just kind of a general overview here at BC and what we look for. Kind of look at running backs. We're the utility knife for the team. So we're asked to do, obviously a lot of different things, kind of a unique position, just being involved in so many aspects of a successful offense. And we're going to touch into, all those here. Some of them show up on a stat sheet. Some of them don't. Some of them are effort plays that only show up on film that aren't necessarily the highlight reel type plays. I'm a big believer that the more you can do as an individual running back, the more lethal you are and the more you can do on offense. The majority of running backs, having said that, are obviously going to have strengths and weaknesses, but I kind of wanted to talk through both, an off-season and then during the season approach to working on everything, challenging those guys to become, especially in 2020, more of a complete back where you can do a lot of different things. So the four deals we're going to touch on tonight are some run game fundamentals, from a start to an exchange to finishing a run, pass protection, catching and route running ability, and run blocking. Again, a lot of stuff to tackle, and then the drill we'll get into, we'll try to incorporate as much of that as we can, but just being that utility knife, like I said, is big for us. Okay, so we're going to start here with running the ball. Obviously, the beginning of every play starts with a stance. So we preach a balanced stance, just nice and comfortable. We want our guys to be comfortable. Everyone's going to look a little bit different, but just to start balanced with a flat back, relaxed. The biggest thing is to avoid tells. The higher up you go, if there's certain stance or guys staring things down or cheating stuff, we try to avoid that, and we want every snap to look the same. Inside zone, outside zone, power, counter. We want to start the same. Obviously, sometimes we'll be offset in the gun, in the home position if we're under center, or in the pistol. Some runs you might be a little more up towards the midline or a little bit behind the quarterback. But in terms of our stance, we preach that thing looking the same every single time, just so as not to give that away. A note I put here as well, looking at it, is if you guys get into the season, I know it comes up with us a lot, but if you're a team that might point a linebacker out in pass protection, for example, Really preaching for your running backs to be actors and make sure you mix in, linebacker points when it's a hard run, even if it means nothing to the running back, just to not give a tilt, or every time we come up to the line, we're pointing and looking, okay, I'm sky to scan, I'm 1-2 in the pass game. And then when we break the huddle and it's a run, we just get right into our stance. So be actors there, embrace it. And that's just embracing the craft. And that's, as you get guys, depending on their stage and their development, as they come along and are more comfortable doing stuff like that. So nice balanced stance and avoiding tails. Getting into the takeoff phase of things, obviously, once the ball is snapped on a run, his landmark and his footwork is play dependent. So everyone teaches things a little bit differently. So without getting into, a big dissertation on power footwork versus inside zone and counter, you just want each of them to look the same, and you want no wasted movement. So whatever your step is, if it's a drop step in power, he should be drop stepping the same way every single time. I'm a big believer that if it's allowed, it's either being coached or allowed, excuse me. So you're either coaching it the right way or allowing it to be done the wrong way. So kind of being sticklers, especially early on in camp, with no wasted movement, and you want those steps to be the same every single time. That's no matter what you're running. Again, no matter what you're running, we want low pad level, and we want to get our shoulders square to the line of scrimmage as soon as possible. Again, might be a little easier to get downhill on an inside zone or a power quicker than an outside zone, but as soon as they make that step, you want to get square to the line of scrimmage as soon as possible and get downhill. In terms of the exchange between the quarterback and the running back, obviously we want our near elbow to the ball up with a slight lean over the ball as we get it, and then we want to secure both points of the football with our fingertips. And Jordan, our offensive coordinator, as well as myself, are big believers in both hands being on the ball through the line of scrimmage. We don't know if a guard's going to get knocked back, someone's going to backdoor and shoot for some unprepared contact. So we want both hands on the ball through the line of scrimmage every single time, without question there. And then the old saying, I think, rings true, slow to and explode through in terms of your read key. So slow to and press your point, be patient, and then explode through once we get that read, whether it's telling us to cut back or keep it front side. So slow to and explode through. I think it's a really quick and easy mantra for kids to get quickly, just to kind of slow them down a little bit, set up their blocks. And then the theme for the night's going to be, we got these 4 prongs here, but we want to finish everything we do and initiate contact. I think, again, the old cliche, be the hammer, not the nail, fits here. You want to finish everything, whether we're finishing our runs, finishing, after a catch when we initiate contact, and pass protection being the initiators. And then when we get into the run blocking deal, which we'll talk about, being the hammer, not the nail. And you want to practice like that, end every drill you do with a burst and take pride in finishing everything we do. That's a mentality, and I think that's contagious on a football team because, running backs, the ball is going to be in their hands quite a bit. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit before we move on to ball security. That trust in giving the ball to a running back is earned. We're putting the ball in your hands, so we're trusting the ball in your hands. And I'm a big believer that that's a daily habit, and that starts way before the season. That has to be the daily talking point, is ball security. The old saying, ball security is job security. You hear that in a lot of rooms, and it's really true. If we can't trust you with the ball, we can't put it in your hands. So every day, ad nauseum, just hammering home, just being that annoying voice and hammering ball security in every single drill, every rep, everything you do. Whether you have a ball security circuit, I know there's a lot of those online. A bunch of universities put them up there. I've seen some NFL ones online, even on YouTube. Whether you're doing that, 5-10 minutes a day, or it's a period once a week, I think ball security has to be the thing you start with and the thing you end with all week. Guys, stuff happens, but that's where games are won and lost. Jordan, our OC's phrase, double in trouble. So we preach 2 hands on the ball through the line of scrimmage when we're in open space. We'll talk a little bit about one-hand ball security, but anytime we're in traffic, we want 2 hands on the ball just to secure it. So double in trouble, another nice little keyword for kids to remember, 2 hands on the ball in traffic. And then here we're going to talk about one hand in the open field. Before I show you guys some pictures, we preach 4 points of pressure. So the first point being the fingertips on the front point of the ball pressed firmly around it. The second point being the entire elbow on the back point of the ball. So that's both ends of the football with 2 points. We want that forearm to be pinned against alongside the long side of the ball as a third point, and then the fourth point being the ball pressed against our ribs. So those are our 4 points of pressure when we're in the open field with one hand. And again, anytime we get trouble, having 2 hands on that thing. And again, that's stuff that can be worked every single day, whether you're doing tracks with the quarterbacks, any agility drill, just really hammering that home. So here's just a couple really basic examples with a couple of our backs. So here's John in space. You can see the fingertips are on the front point, his elbows on the back point, his forearms along the side, and he's pressing it to his ribs in traffic. Really tough to get that out. And then under here on the bottom photo, we got Rut in traffic, double in trouble, both arms on it. Again, just really eliminating, costly fumbles, especially ones that we can prevent. So 2 pretty good examples. Those guys do a really good job taking care of the ball. Both run very differently, different running styles, but you can see here both really solid with their fundamentals. So we'll stay on with that. Okay, getting into pass protection. QB security is job security. Again, ROC Jordan just pretty much puts it into one basket, which I really like, which is just security. So both securing the ball when it's in your hands, as important as that is, securing the quarterback and taking care of him is equally important. It doesn't really matter how good you are as a running back, you won't be an every down back, and you might not play for us if you can't protect the quarterback. Your role will be extremely limited, if anything, if you can't protect the quarterback, especially in this league. But that goes to any level of football. So if you can't protect, can't play for us. But in general here, when picking up in pass protection, a couple of key points that we emphasize. You want that contact when picking up a blitz to be as close to the line of scrimmage as possible. And that's just for the standpoint of keeping space between that pressure and the quarterback. So if we meet them 3-4 yards in the backfield, they get knocked back a yard or 2, now we're in the lap and we're disrupting the pocket. So meet them at the line best as possible, being controlled. You want to be inside out on the defender best as possible as well, knowing that if we lose them a little bit and we lose them outside, we can wash and ride. Our quarterback will step up and we can get the ball off. And we want to be square to the line of scrimmage for as long as possible. So it's not always going to look perfect, but we want to fight like hell the best we can to keep our shoulders square and not give a go and a free rush to the quarterback. And as always, like anything in football, the low man wins. Here's a good photo of a Vikings practice of the low guy winning, staying low. In a pass protection drill, stay low, fire. Again, with everything we do, we want to finish every rep by initiating the contact. So initiating that contact, stunting the rush, being inside out, allowing for a nice clean pocket. The only thing worth noting too is everyone's protection scheme is going to be a little different in terms of who guys have, who they're responsible for. But I do think that when you get into training camp in the season, it's really important to go through that stuff with your guys, no matter how simple or complex it is, so your running backs can play fast, their eyes can be in the right place pre-snap, and just know their protection scheme inside and out. So whether it's, daily quizzes on the board, watching film, who do you have here? Who would you have here? I'm a big believer in that, so they can play fast and do all those things that we just talked about above without stressing out and being hesitant on who they have. So that's pass protection in a nutshell there. Okay, so pass catching and route running, another element. I think, in my opinion, it's increasingly more and more important in today's game, especially in the CFL with 3 downs. Being able to get a 6th eligible out there and stress the defense is huge. Again, some guys are going to be better natural pass catchers than others. Some guys are going to be better route runners than others. But I think the more you can practice that, particularly in the offseason, to kind of see what you have, the better, because it just makes you more difficult to defend. So again, I think offseason, early in camp, I'm a big proponent myself of letting running backs run the route tree with the receivers. And sometimes it's going to look a little bit awkward. You're going to get a ball bouncing off of a running back's head. It's just going to happen. But I think the more you can get them to do that, one, I think it allows you to see who can do some stuff, because every year that I've seen running backs run receiver routes in camp and early, someone's going to surprise you, because unless you put them out there to do it, you're not going to know. And again, formationally, you can do a lot with that down the road potentially. And then two, I think it just works on general coordination and stuff that's going to come up in the game anyways, in terms of we get a back that free releases in the flat, we get some pressure, we scramble, and now that receiver is working his scramble drill, whether it's working up the sideline, coming back to a guy, and just being in different positions. I don't know if you guys can see me or not, but just different angles of catches over the head on either side. I think the more you can get those receivers doing RVA, or excuse me, those running backs doing RVA with the receivers, the better. And like I said, you might be surprised, what some guys can do and how quickly some guys come along, because if you get drilled into just between the tackles all the time, it's not an element of the game, especially if you're coaching younger guys. You'd be surprised how quickly, from my experience with, youth and high school kids, some of those guys come along in the pass game, and it's just going to help your team out. All right, our last point before we get to the drills is our run blocking. So not only are we going to be great with the ball in our hands, we got to be great in the run game as well. So whether you're doing that as, two backs in the game, whether it's two tailbacks, one blocking for another, like this picture here, whether it's a wide receiver perimeter run, jet sweeps are becoming more and more popular, whether it's a fullback fitting up on something, or this has become more popular again too, quarterback runs, and the running back is the lead guy. Whatever it is, it's becoming more and more important in today's game. I just wanted to make a note of it, because everyone's offense is a little different in what you're going to ask your running backs to do in the running game, blocking wise. But I think it's important to work on that, whether it's getting on sleds, working on fits, talking them through, not only what you're running, but why you're running it, what shoulder they want to attack. It's going to be, highly personal depending on what system you're in. But the more you can do with that, it just adds an extra blocker in the run game, which in today's game, that's kind of the name of the game, whether you're reading the extra guy in the box or whether you're blocking them with your running back. If you can do that, it certainly opens up, a lot that you can call, throughout the game. So that one's probably the most personal to you guys. If there's questions on it, glad to talk about it. But yeah, the more they can do there, the more you can do. All righty. So our drill of the day, I tried to incorporate, a drill that would incorporate the most amount of stuff that we talked about tonight, and kind of bring it all, full circle. So just a basic bag agility drill with a few things added in that we'll talk through. This drill is going to work the exchange. So whether you have, a backup quarterback head down there for this drill to actually get a quarterback doing it, or whether you, the coach, are handing it off, or you just get another running back to do it, it's going to work your stance, your start, the exchange with the inside elbow up, folding over the ball. You can work any kind of footwork you like. That's what I like about this. You can move it around to work whatever run game you guys do to get into the bag. It's going to work the 4 points of contact. So as you're going through the bag, preaching those 4 points of contact, it's going to work general agility and change of direction, which us as running backs we're always doing. You want to preach low pad level, and then you want to finish through the run. Another thing you can do here that I would highly recommend is to have either coaches or other players on either side of these bags, either grabbing at the ball or just with, a big pad hitting the running back so he has to cover, double in trouble, or just ball security and getting used to being pestered as he's moving and cutting and keeping it tight to him. So you're working a lot all at once. And you can switch up the agility drill. So this would just be a shuffle through on either end. We're getting a grab on the ball, go down one with the left arm, and then flip it, go back with the right. And you can flip it for all that. You can tilt the bags to make a Z, like an extended Z or a snake, and do zigzags. You can do jump cuts. You can do sideways runs and explode out. But putting our running backs in different positions while being bothered, whether it's a pad hitting them or guys grabbing at them. And again, with the emphasis on the entire process, the stance and start, good eyes, a good exchange, folding over the ball, 4 points of contact, staying low. On the finish, we talked a little bit about it tonight. On each phase of it, we want to finish everything, being the hammer, not the nail again, but finish low and strong through. So the little orange dot would just be a cone. Whenever we get done with anything, we want to explode through for 5 yards, finish low and strong, being ready to initiate that contact. The only thing I would add to it is if you wanted to have a stand-up dummy at the end for that orange cone and add either a left or a right cut to incorporate some reaction, just to kind of simulate pressing a hole and either cutting back or staying front side. That's kind of the 201 level of this thing in terms of finishing all that and then make a cut and then finish through. But I think that incorporates, a heck of a lot for what a running back has to do. And that's practicing how you play, which, any position, we want to practice how we play and not just do drills for the sake of doing it. And I think a lot of stuff's going to come up here. You're going to get fumbles. You're going to have guys playing high. You're going to have guys not finishing, guys that might think they're doing those things, but when you add it up like this, those things kind of come out in the wash. So I think that's tackling a lot in one. So, John and Red will be, I'm sure, excited to get rolling on that when we get going. So that's kind of the drill. I know Ty's going to talk, and then we'll get some questions here at the end, but I just wanted to pass it off. I know Trav's going next, but appreciate you guys. That's running back play in a nutshell.
Thanks, Danny. I'm going to flip it over to Travis right now. Travis, how you doing, Travis? How you doing tonight?
Good. How's everybody doing out there? Appreciate it, Danny, for the little intro. Be tough to follow. I'm excited to get out there with BC. This may be my first year with the Lions. Spent 2 years with Edmonton. Got to work with some good coaches. Also got to be around, a lot of good players that made me look a little bit better of a coach. But as we're getting this PowerPoint up, just kind of wanted to introduce myself. Travis Brown. I played 2 years at Ottawa, like Tyler had mentioned. And kind of bringing it all the way back. I was born into a football family. My dad was a longtime coach. He started at the linebacker position. By the time I was in first grade, living in Fresno, California, we had already moved and lived in seven different states because of where his career had taken him through the college football world. But I'll tell you one thing, it's changed my life being around football growing up. Always being able to, get down to practice and see, what they're doing at an early age. Didn't only help me, as a player, which, was great for me, but also as that dream to become a coach, kept gathering. It also helped lead to, where I'm at now. But a little bit about, my playing coaching history. I played inside linebacker for Fresno State, inside and outside from 2009, 2013. Like I said, played for Ottawa 15-16, and lucky for them, they cut me the year after and they won the Grey Cup, and they made the right choice there. After that, I went back, had to finish up school, and at that time, Coach Tedford was at Fresno State, and that's when I had reached out to him. Talked to him for a couple days. He said, well, we have a recruiting spot open. And I said, well, that's awesome. I'd love to just be around the program. And I turned in one assignment, and he said, go into the defensive room. We want you to be the defense quality control guy. And that led into the assistant linebackers job. And, from there, everything has just been rolling. Like I said, after that, went to Edmonton. that's when Coach Moss was there. Learned a lot of great things from him. And just that staff the last 2 years were awesome. And then I end up here in Vancouver, like I said, fired up to be here. So, the mindset today, we'll talk about the topics. We're going to go over how to strike a block properly. Looking at the giant picture of, what it takes to be a good linebacker, we could sit here and be on this conference all day. To me, an overlooked thing, a technique, and something that I don't think is taught enough is how to strike a block properly. So we're going to spend some time on that. We'll show you a couple drills. And I believe we got film on that as well. And then if we got some extra time, I threw in some drop reaction, pass drop drills that we could take a quick look at. Before we get into the block striking, for me, what I look for in a linebacker is a guy that's instinct. He's instinctual. All right, he just knows where to be. He plays fast, even though he may not be the fastest player on the field. He's going to get to that ball quick, and that's very important to have. I was never the fastest guy on the field, but a sideline to sideline player, I tried to be that guy. Just got to be a natural athlete, right? Loud guy, communicator, a guy that understands the defense, especially if you're talking about the Mike spot or the inside linebacker spot, that calls the plays, makes the checks, and gets everybody organized. That guy's got to be the one that is willing to spend extra time. My first year in Edmonton, I had J.C. Sherritt, hell of a guy. He would always want to spend extra time to just iron out all the details of not just his position, but of everyone's position around him, so he can, piece together when, somebody's out of place. The second year I had Larry Dean, another awesome player, same type of dude, even more vocal, and both those guys, another leadership quality that they had was they weren't afraid to tell a teammate they were wrong, and that's something in this day and age you see more and more. And I'm sure some of the older coaches in this chat could agree. It's just the accountability isn't there. And for coaches to always try and keep the players accountable, it's tough. And when you have a player like Larry Dean or J.C. Sherritt coming in and calling those guys out in a respectful way, but still getting after their teammates. And that's something you can't teach, but you could see that in players. And, having a guy like that it helps. It helps. And I'm sure you guys have had him. Like I said, he's got to be a leader. Got to be an aggressive player. I use the word triggers. When a guy sees the play or sees the ball, he triggers. And that's a different speed that clicks on. And he's going to hit it, and then a guy ultimately that loves contact, he's not afraid to throw it in there when the game's on the line, and that's what I look for. I'm sure there's a bunch of other things that could qualify to be a good linebacker, and, we'll kind of look at some other things as we move on through this tape. So, with that being said, we could start up our strike, our block striking. So as you're looking at this PowerPoint, we got a picture on the right. I actually got to give credit to my brother Eric Brown. He's been a coach in college football for a while now, but we had talked this a couple years back. And he built this and shared this picture, and I really like it for multiple reasons. I think if you're not showing your linebackers exactly what you want, whether it's through film or, through pictures like this, I think you could be doing it better by showing them something like this. So basically, I'm just going to walk you through this picture and kind of explain what we're talking about. The first thing first, when you're striking a block, is you need to strike on the rise, right? You got no power if you're standing straight up. So we're big on that. And the first point that we're going to say is, get your power foot in the ground. And as you see on this picture, that one right there is our power foot, right? And we say we want that power foot right down the center of his line, right down the O lineman's center line, right? And that's where we're generating most of our power from. Okay. As that's being said, that power foot hits the ground. That escape foot is 2 down there at the bottom right, right? That's the location area of where our escape foot would be around. We want that slightly staggered, right? Because it is our escape foot. Okay. And another point is we like that outside of the blocker's feet, right? If they're too tight, it makes you a little more off balance. Also, it makes it harder when you do need to escape to make the play of getting that. You still have to get that foot outside that blocker anyways. So, like I said, power foot down center of the line, or down the offensive center line. And then that escape foot slightly staggered outside that blocker's foot, or feet, blocker's feet. All right, now we're looking more up to the top of this O lineman here. You'll see that number 1 with the hand, right? That's his left hand. Okay, real quick, while we're looking at this, our gap responsibility in this picture is to the right of this O lineman. Okay, so that will help you we want that escape foot to be staggered towards our responsible gap, okay, or to our gap responsibility. Okay, so when we get to our control hand up top, right, we want to strike that dude right in the sternum, okay? We're going to strike and extend, okay? Squeeze and constrict the air route of that gap, okay? Our responsibility is to the right of this player in this picture, but there's still that air to the left of that O lineman, right? So we might do our job, strike, and we think we do our job, but there's some air behind him, and we created still an extra gap, that D lineman can't get to. So we still get, touchdown or, a big gain on this. So when we do strike with that power foot, our escape foot's in play, and now we're talking our control hand, strike, extend, squeeze, constrict that air out. So there's no air for that running back to slip through. I know Danny's teaching them over there at running back to find any air and hit it. So we're going to try and keep that as minimal as possible. Okay, now we're talking about our gap hand. That's 2 over here on the right. Okay, with that gap hand, we're going to strike. Okay, and the way I like to kind of teach it to my guys, if you've felt shoulder pads on an O lineman, there's that little slot of, it's not hard plastic, it's just a little bit of protection in there. And also you got the bicep and the arm of that O lineman. I like putting our thumb right in that little pocket, right? Obviously it's not something that's happening every play, but if you strike around that area, you're going to have full control over this guy's arm. Right, and that's big because he's going to try and hold us as best as possible. Right, so we're going to strike, maintain our gap with our gap hand, and be able to escape. So 1 and 1 on the hand and the power foot go hand in hand, right? And 2 and 2 are very similar as well, being able to escape with that gap hand and with that escape foot ready, right? Yeah, Ty, you can go to the next one for me. Okay. Coaching points on it, right? I like to tell our guys to put the handcuffs on, right? And if you're wearing handcuffs, how far would you really be able to extend your hands without that chain locking on you? And the reason we tell them that is because if they're out there with too wide of hands, they're just going to slip right off, or they're going to miss their strike angle. So I'd rather see them tighter than wider, right? Yeah, so no need to go any wider than the handcuffs, right? So now we made our contact, we got good control, we've taken the air out of that gap. Best way to help constrict and get control over, you know, a big old lineman is, you know, I use the term machine gun feet, right? Because we want those things pumping in the ground, all right? And if you think about the old lineman doing the duck steps, right, it's a big counter for them to get all these things accomplished, and then we're hitting our machine gun feet and really starting to get some push on these dudes. A big thing that I see as an error or a mistake that I see a lot is you see a linebacker make contact and his power foot starts coming off the ground and he starts leaning back. You know, there's no momentum going forward anymore. So a way that we've countered that, you know, in the past is machine gun. Hey, get them going, machine gun feet, right? Yeah, Ty, we're good next. Okay, so I'll kind of recap this in a second because I know I hit it a little quick here, but so now we know our gap responsibility in this picture is to our right, right? Our escape foot and our gap hand is to our gap side. Okay, so when we need to make a play, say that ball carrier bounces over here to the right of that picture, and we need to make a play on that. Our best technique that we use, okay, is obviously we got this dude extended, okay? We just want to rip past it. We just got to go by one arm. Let's extend and rip and make that play, okay? Now, let's say that ball, we're holding our gap well, we squeezed it out, and that ball cuts back inside to not our gap, right? That's the other side of this O lineman where we just need to make a play now. We like to say extend, okay, and arm over, since we got two arms that we basically have to go through, right? It's extend rip because that's our gap. It's easy to make. It's easy to break through one hand. When it's away from us and it's not our gap, we got to go through the grain of that O lineman. We say extend, arm over, get over the top, make the play, right? Now you got to see this as, say, you know, this picture's flopped now and our gap is to the left of this O lineman, right? So that means our right foot would be the power foot now. Our left foot would be the escape foot. Our right hand would be our control hand. Our left hand would be the gap hand, right? Cool, tight, we can roll. Okay, so we're just gonna show a couple clips that, you know, and if you guys got any questions on that last picture, you know, put them in the chat and we'll go back and talk it through again. But these have just been some drills that have helped iron out that picture and put it into film for us. You know, it's something we could do early in training camp, a few of these drills, and you know, it just brings that picture to life for us so we can see it on film a little bit better. All right, this drill is called the 3-pop for me. Ty, you let it run a little bit and we'll just kind of start it back from the start a couple times here. What you're going to see is JC share it to the left. All right. What we're trying to do is get the power foot down, okay, and get our control hand in line. While Tyler's, yeah, there you go, getting it figured out. Our control hand in, and we're just quick, rapid fire, power step down, strike, power step down, strike. And then we're going to get a extend rip to our gap that would be on our left side here. Okay. So as we watch it again, bang, 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 end on the third one with an extend rip, right? Bang, 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 extend rip. Good. Okay. Let's see what this next one looks like. Okay. So as we're watching this, I know it's going to be a little tough for Ty to show us it. Yeah, there you go. So as you saw on that last one, if you can pause it right before, perfect, right here is great. Okay, so in that picture we're showing that this we're on we're on that gap, that gap side is to our gap is to our right in this picture, right? So he's got to make a play after to get over the top and make that play in the opposite gap. So this was, you know, first year, we're working on a couple different things, but this is where I would like to see that extend arm over to get over the top. Okay, Ty, you can let it run. But right now they're doing that dip rip. Okay, pop, pop, pop. Perfect. 3 pop. Okay, so that's another one. They're going the opposite gap, so I'd like to see an arm over. But like I said, good way to just start out the year, giving them a reference power step, control hand, gap hand, and just rapid fire it. Perfect. Okay, you can let it run, Ty. Let's see what the next one is. Okay, now you could pause it right at the front of that if you want, Ty, just to explain it. Perfect. Okay, so now instead of that 3 pop, we're just doing a single strike on this one. And what we're doing is moving lateral. All right, I'm going to give them a go, all right, and then I'm going to give them another go, and that second go is going to trigger that blocker out to our linebacker. On that second go, also, the linebackers starting to attack that blocker. So what you should see is a good power step. And we'll also, you know, we're going to look at these as, you know, as things that we can get better at too. I think our guy to the left here was probably a little too wide in a strike, and we'll look at that too. Yep, perfect. Okay, what I do like on that left side though is he's trying to work that arm over. So power step too wide, but he works the arm over, right? And that's what we want to see ultimately out of this drill. We'll look at Konar right here to the right. Shuffle, shuffle, go, strike. Okay, he just did the rip, right? He's going opposite gap. I'd like to see that arm over. Cool, we'll keep it running. All right, so this is another drill. You know, you could pause it at the top of that one just to explain it real quick. Cool. So we get them in the sleds just to make sure our gravity, center of gravity is a little bit lower, right? We really want to stress being low, yeah, right? Especially if we're stressing strike on the rise. Okay, so the schemes that I've taught in the past have been more lateral with our read steps, and that's why we're kind of doing this through this drill. And we do a lot of rock back or, you know, I'm trying to think of different terms that you guys might use, but we're basically gap exchanging with our 2-eye a lot. So we're not as aggressive downhill immediately. So as we let this run, you'll see our linebacker in the sled. He's going to shuffle down and rock back into this block. Okay, we want to see that power step like he did. He had a good power step there, and then he extended and ripped right to me. I'm the ball carrier right there. Okay, so it's a good way to kind of combine 3 different things. You get a shuffle, you get the power step, strike, extend, rip, and, you know, thud up on a tackle. Okay, over here it's just the opposite after this one. It'll be the opposite way, but now this linebacker's got to get to his opposite gap, okay, as he's seeing that ball expand away from his gap, right? So go ahead. You'll see him shuffle, come back, and now he's got to extend, arm over to get to me, the ball carrier that's bouncing that play, right? So that's a good drill. That's a good rep. I'd like to see a better power step out of him. It's hard to see from this angle, but you could see he was a little staggered in the opposite way. Okay, this drill right here, I called the gauntlet. Just something that I wanted to mix in because of what I was telling you. I don't know if you guys have seen it with your linebackers where they get that leg up and they get stuck in that strike and they can't move the guy. So I wanted to get the machine gun feet rolling, right? So Coach or Ty, I know we're running a little short on time. We'll let it run. So we got 4 guys here. Okay, I'm gonna point at the blocker I want to attack him, right? And that blocker's gonna full fire right at that linebacker. Okay, so as Santos or 4-5 is shuffling down the line here, I'm gonna point at that O lineman, and that O-lineman is going to trigger on them, right? And you'll see, bang, okay, you get the machine gun feet rolling. I just want this to be a part one of the drill. Let's get our feet moving and drive these dudes back 5 to 10 yards. Okay, you just keep it running, coach. We'll see the next one. Here we go. Yep, keep it rolling. So it's a good way to keep them, you know, off guard, so they don't know where that block's coming from. Okay. Now this is a picture after this rep. Just one picture. I want you guys to look at the top. You can play it, coach, or stop it. Uh-oh. Yeah, just stop it right before the end of that. As the offense is lined up would be great. Sorry, at the beginning of this next clip. The game film, yep. You can stop right for. Okay, you see JC's up on the G of the McGill. Okay, he's going to get a zone towards him. That guard's going to come up to him, and what you'll see is JC we'll watch the sideline and the end zone, but JC will be patient initially, and that's what we're teaching. And he's going to go strike that block and give our backer over here at the bottom a chance to get to that play. So we'll go ahead and play it and walk through it. So shuffle. He goes power step, strike. Okay. Still a gain. And what we told JC after this play is let's get our feet moving a little bit, right? He does everything right, but his feet stop. Okay. He doesn't get the machine gun feet, and he could squeeze that air out a little bit better, right? And that's the difference between a 3 or 4 yard gain and a 1 yard gain, or a TFL for somebody else. You could let it run through, and we'll watch the end zone here, Ty. Okay, so you'll see JC to the right, and you'll see a good play by 10 here, getting over the top of this action and tracking that ball, right? Good tackle on that near hip. Let's see it one more time. So let's watch JC here. Guard comes up, power step, strike, extend, okay? And really just taking the air route would be the biggest coaching point there, right? Instead of, letting that ball crease us a little bit there. Okay, a little bit tougher play, so we're not going to spend too much time on this one. We're kind of limited on film. But JC's up here at the top, playing against one of the best running backs in the game. I can't remember where he's at, 33 out here, yep. So he's going to be out at receiver, and we got to track him back in. So we never really had a chance to line up. But what you'll see is JC doing some, smooth stuff on the fly, right? He gets back to that middle of the field, and we'll let it play and let you guys see it. But sometimes it doesn't take a big whomping strike to make a play, right? That ball is already committed. You can go straight to the end zone, Ty, if you want. That ball is already committed. We don't have to spend that much time on that guy. So we don't need a big old slow strike, right? We just need something quick, have our escape foot ready, and get over the top and make this play. So JC's coming back in. Okay, quick strike, bounce off that, make the play. All right. Like I said, we're a little limited on film from my past couple years, but I hope this block striking, could be a help to you. And then obviously, if you guys got any other questions, I'd love to go over them with you. We're running a little low, so I don't want to show too much of the past stuff, but we could definitely get into it at another day. Ty, what are you thinking?
We got time. Let's go through it.
Okay, just a couple of them real quick. So you got guys that that are slow reacting, or need to work on being able to break out of a situation. This has been a great drill for me. And basically all it is I give them 5 or 6 commands that they could be doing, and you'll see these guys are tight on a line. You can run these 2 clips back and forth, but basically I'll give them a back pedal, and I actually talked about this in that coaching point tape that I made for the BC Lions, but this is a little bit better footage. So I can give them a back pedal, a shuffle, open up, shuffle, open, I give them a weave, and we've talked about that, where that's a back pedal at an angle. And what it does is it keeps everybody on their toe, right? If you do some of these, they can anticipate what they're doing. If you're doing some of these drills where it's just a constant thing, every drill is the same. What I like about that is every drill is different, right? I can give them 3 commands, I can give them 4, I can give them 5. I can give them different variations of those commands. But what I've seen it be great for is a guy, that gets back to his drop and can shoot out of it and break quick, like a DB, right? These aren't far off from good DB drills. And I really like getting linebackers good at those type drills. So just a quick play, JC's in the middle here. You can let her run. He's floating. He's a spy player, but you'll see how quick he's out of that break. And even the end zone view will be good too. So if you want to let it run, Ty, go for it. He's spying the quarterback. He's floating over here to the right side of the field. But as soon as he sees something, there's no hesitation, right? He is out of there, right? And he almost beats the ball to that screen play, to that running back. Let's end it at that one, Coach. Let's we can talk about that another day. But once again, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for listening in. I know we had to run through it all pretty quick. It's been a crazy year, but I'm thankful to be able to sit down and talk some football. And I appreciate you guys coming out and listening. So we got any questions?
Yeah, thank you, Travis and Danny. Let's go to some questions here. And once again, if you have any questions that you want to ask, please feel free to do so and use the chat function. Travis, first question we'll send your way. What do you look, it's 2 parts to it. What do you look for in a good linebacker?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll read them both out. And then do you read the O-line or the backfield action? Sorry, I guess there's 3 questions. My fault. And what drills would you do to teach this? So first question is, what do you look for in the linebackers?
Yeah, and I kind of mentioned that right at the start of the video. I had a head start on that question. But like I said, instinctual, got to play fast, natural athlete, communicates, understands the defense, aggressive, and loves contact. Those are basically what I'm looking for. The next one, Ty, was do I read the O-line?
Read the O-line or the backfield, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a combination of both. What I like to tell our guys is read the triangle, okay? So you're looking through the O-lineman to the running back, and really it's the way I like to picture it is right guard, center, running back, right? And you're going to everything else, peripheral vision, everything else. But that O-lineman's first step is going to take you to 90% of the plays, right? And, if you follow it up by looking through the next point of that triangle, which is the running back, he's going to take you to the next 10. So I like living by that triangle, right? And to me, it's whatever guard side you're on, okay? Right, reading basically guard to center, maybe even that guard if you're a talented backer that could see more, and then to that running back, and that forms that triangle for you.
Great, thank you. And then I think we got 1 question. How many questions we got, Danny? 1 question for Danny.
All right.
And it's when is it that the quarterback? Let me get this before I ask it out. When is it that the quarterback will run the ball? When it is the quarterback who will run the ball, is there any change or any change-ups in messaging to the position on the field during practice and training?
Okay, when the quarterback's running it versus the running back here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would. Okay, yeah, any changes? I got you. No, with one major exception. I played quarterback my whole life, so no in terms of pressing the point of whatever your read key is, 4 points of contact, ball security. I mean, growing up, every team I've been on, whenever we did ball security drills, quarterbacks were in there because we handled the ball a ton, more than anyone. I would say everything the exact same except for depending on your guy, if it's your guy and he's doing both for it, he's not just an athlete back there and throws it some, I would say get down. Don't be the hammer in that case. So get what you can and then get down, just with the big picture in terms of, health and longevity. So just avoiding hits. So everything else, smart with the ball. And then, most teams I've been on, it's get what you can and then get down. The only time we're not the hammer.
I actually had a question myself for Travis, because I was just looking at your slides, and what do you mean by closing the gap? Do you mean like pushing the lineman to the left or right?
Yeah,
The gap?
basically, as the play moves, obviously the pieces of that play are going to be moving, right? And that gap, there's somebody in that gap, right? It'll be like a nose tackle or a tackle, but he could be up the field, he could get reached. So we don't want any extra space, or he could be right in that gap and just can't reach and make that play. So when we say take the air out of that gap, we just want to condense that gap, right? And we don't want any space. Danny will sit here and tell you if his running back sees space, it doesn't matter if there's a body there or not, that he's going to try and put his head down, shoulder down, and get into that space and slip through. So when we say constrict it, we want to be able to push or control that old lineman enough to, constrict the space behind them as well. And if you're striking properly, you'll be able to do that.
Okay, great. Thanks for letting me know.
Yep.
I was curious and just when you're going through it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep,
well,
of course.
Turn it back to me. That wraps up our Coaches Playbook series. I want to thank everyone who's been able to join us the past 5 weeks, and we've had a lot of fun. Just having our coaches on, sharing some knowledge, helping you out. Maybe providing you with a few new drills or techniques or philosophies, and hoping that you can implement it into your coaching, whether it be in community or high school. At the Adam level, at the high school level. We would really appreciate everything that our coaches were able to let everyone know, this past 5 weeks. With that said, if you're unable to join all the calls and you missed out on the seminar, we are going to be posting our past 5 calls onto the BC Lions Coaches Playbook webpage. So we'll have those up next week. Feel free to come back on, check them out if you missed anything, or if you wanted to rewatch again if there's something that you missed. I just want to let you know, everyone else watching, that we will have them up available for you to watch. And once again, thank you for coming on. Thank you, GML Mechanical and Boza Construction, for presenting the program, and couldn't do it without their help. And again, my name's Tyler, and I just want to wish everyone good night and take care.
Thank you, guys.